So this lab is going to be quite interesting because it's a very big lab, and here we will be seeing about how do you do continuous integration and continuous deployment with two tools, or I would say three tools. So a continuous integration can be done from Azure DevOps side, and continuous deployment can be done from Jenkins. Another option is like I can do a continuous integration from Jenkins and continuous deployment from Azure DevOps. So we will see how do you integrate Azure DevOps with Jenkins, and then how do you do the CI/CD, and I'm going to deploy it on a Apache Tomcat container. Okay. So what I have done is like I have just went into this Azure DevOps, so which like you have to go to dev.azure.com, and then you need to give your email ID that has been registered, and this is a empty project which I have just created it. Okay, now before this is going to be your Azure DevOps, which is already set up and running. Now I need to set my Jenkins, and then I need to install my Tomcat server where I'm going to do my deployment. So what I have done, I just went into Azure. Okay, so this, if you remember, on our very first lab, we just created a free Azure account with $200 credit. Okay, so you can actually see the $200 credit over here. I still have $199 remaining. So I was telling you like we can use this option for our demo purpose. So what I have done, I just went into virtual machines. So I'm just creating two virtual machines. One is Jenkins, another one is Tomcat. So what I have done, I have just created a resource groups. Okay, one is Jenkins server resource groups, and inside a Jenkins server resource group, I have just created a single VM called as Jenkins server, and I have just taken Ubuntu 18 as this VM. If you see, this is going to be my VM. I have just taken Ubuntu 18 as a VM, and then I just created an empty virtual machine with Ubuntu, and then I have created another resource group called as Tomcat server, and here also I just created a Ubuntu 18 as an empty machine called as Tomcat server. Now what I should do, how do I connect to this machine? So I just click on this connect button and then SSH, because since it's an Ubuntu machine, you cannot RDP, you just need to do an SSH. When you give that connect SSH option, it gives you an option of either using an token, private key, or a public key option, or I have just chosen an option of username and password. So I just type SSH, and then this is going to be my username, and this is going to be my IP address of the machine. And then when I go to this particular mission, I just type. So if you see, this is going to be my username and the mission. So I'm just typing SSH, my username at the IP address of the mission, and then it will be asking me for a password. So I just type password. So you can have two options. One, you can have an option of using a private key, public key, or you can have an option of creating a username and password. So now if you see, I'm inside a Ubuntu machine. Okay, so how do you know it's a Ubuntu machine? So when you type uname, it says Linux, but my base machine would be Mac OS. So that's how I know I'm inside this Tomcat server machine. Okay, so now I have already installed Tomcat. Like if you see, if you know how to install a Tomcat, just go here and then type install Tomcat 9 on Ubuntu 18 server. So this gives you a list of steps. First I just need to update my OS, and then I just need to install the default JDK, because for Tomcat and for Java a default JDK 8 is required. And then I'm just trying to create a new user called Tomcat, and then I'm trying to download the key, and then I'm trying to download Tomcat from the Apache .org server, and then I'm just trying to extract it, and then I'm trying to install the Tomcat server. Now when you actually start the Tomcat, you can see sudo systemctl status Tomcat. You can see whether the Tomcat is running or not. Now in my case, Tomcat service is not running. So what I should do, I just need to start it. Okay, so I'm just going to cd etc just install Tomcat. Okay, So it's under opt. I'm just going to opt tomcat, and then I'm going to bin, and oh sorry, sudo. Okay, let me first make myself as a root. So sudo su minus. So I'm just making myself as a root user. Now I'm just going to cd opt tomcat. Okay. And here I can see the bin option. I'm going into bin, and then here I will see startup and start option. So I'm just clicking startup.sh, and this automatically says my tomcat is started. And how do I actually know what is my port number for the tomcat? That is where you just need to go to cd conf. Conf is another directory, and here you can see server.xml. So cat server.xml, and here we can see what is the port number for our tomcat server, which is my port number for tomcat is 9090. So what I should do, I just need to go to this tomcat, and this is going to the overview, and this is going to be my public IP. I just need to copy this public IP, and then I'm opening another browser, and then I'm going inside :9090, and boom, my tomcat server is up and running. Now this is a welcome page of tomcat server. Okay, so I have just now made a tomcat server up and running. Similarly, I just need to go to a Jenkins server. So I'm just going to a Jenkins server, and then I'm just clicking on connect option, and it tells me the username and the public IP of the Jenkins. Okay, so I'm just clicking on that, and now it will be asking for my password. Okay, now I have logged into Jenkins server now. So how do you actually install Jenkins? Again, there is an option over here which you can see, install Jenkins on Ubuntu 18. So you just need to download the key and then do sudo apt install Jenkins, and then you can check whether the Jenkins status is up and running or not. Okay, so Jenkins status is active now. So how do I start the Jenkins? Again, I just need to go here and then copy the public IP, and by default Jenkins runs on the port 8080. So I just need to go here :8080. Boom, my Jenkins server is up. So by default I have just given the username as admin123. So when you first set Jenkins, you can give all your username and password according to your choice. So now what happened, my Jenkins server and my tomcat server is up and running. Now the initial step is done. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to close all these, and then I'm coming to my Azure DevOps. So this Azure DevOps, I'm just going to a DevOps demo project, and here you have this option called as pipeline. Okay, so first there are two options available. As I said, one, you can actually take the code from Azure repositories, or you can take the code from GitHub or Bitbucket. That is option number one. Option number two, you can actually start a CI on Jenkins and start a CD on Azure DevOps, or you can start a CI on Azure DevOps and CD on Jenkins. That is your choice. So how do you actually connect Azure DevOps and Jenkins? So now I see the Jenkins server is up and running, right? What I'm going to do, I am going to this project settings, and yesterday, if you remember, I was telling you an option of service hooks and service connection. Now let me go to service connection, and here I'm just clicking on new service connection, and you have an option of Jenkins. Okay, so I'm just clicking on Jenkins and click on next, and this is going to be the URL that you needed from the Jenkins site. So if you see, this is my public IP : port number. So this is going to be my URL, and the username that I am going to that I have given it over there is admin123. Okay, and when I click on verify, it automatically says verification succeeded. Okay, now I just need to give the connection name as Jenkins1 or something. This is just your reference name, and then I just say grant access permissions to all the pipelines, and then when I click on verify and save, the connection will be saved like this. Okay, so this is going to be your service connection which has been saved. This is one option. Another option is like service hooks. So this option can be used when you wanted to have Azure DevOps as a CI and then Jenkins as a CD. Service hooks is nothing but when some build is completed, you just need to trigger a Jenkins server. Okay, so now here also there is a plus option. I'm just clicking on plus and I'm just choosing Jenkins over here. I'm just clicking on next and I say when the build is completed on Azure DevOps, start the Jenkins for continuous deployment. So I'm just choosing a pipeline over here. So I'm saying, so Jenkins as CI, Azure DevOps as CD. No, this I don't want. I just want Azure DevOps as CI, Jenkins as CD. I'm just choosing that, and the build status is going to be succeeded. Only when it is succeeded, it has to trigger. I'm clicking on next, and again, this is going to be the URL of Jenkins, and then I'm just giving a username, whatever the same thing that you're given over there. Okay, and now automatically the jobs will be triggered over here. If you see, this is a job that I've created on Jenkins, which automatically gets populated. And then I just need to click on finish, and then your service connection or a service hooks will be set up over here. Now our steps called as Jenkins server installation, Jenkins up and running, Tomcat server installation, Tomcat up and running, and then I'm coming to Azure DevOps, and then I'm choosing and service hooks, I'm choosing a service connection. So all these initial setups are done. Now let us go to this pipeline option. Now on the pipeline, you have an option of creating a new pipeline. Forget about this, which I have already created it. Okay, here there is an option called as new pipeline. When you click on this new pipeline, you have basically two options. One, to create a pipeline using an YAML format, which is going to be called as pipeline as code. So if you're a hard code developer and you wanted your programming skills to be improved, you can choose this option as YAML. Or you can choose another option called as classic editor. When you click on this classic editor, it will be a normal format without a programming skills. Now, as I told you, I have option of choosing Azure DevOps as a repository, or I can choose GitHub or Subversion or Bitbucket. So my code actually lies in GitHub. So I'm just clicking on GitHub as a repository, and by default it is getting authorized to the same email ID and password that we have registered it for our GitHub. If you remember, we have used the same email ID for GitHub, Bitbucket and Azure DevOps and everything. So it is authorized using my credentials over here. If you wanted to change it, click on change and then create a new service connection and give a new service connection for your GitHub account if you have multiple GitHub accounts. Now when you click on this, it automatically shows me list of all the repositories that is available on the GitHub. So my repository name is Hello World. Okay, I'm just choosing this and I'm clicking on select, and I have multiple branches to choose and I have master branch. So I'm clicking on select and then clicking on continue. Now this is an extra option provided by Azure DevOps, which means you can by default choose a template, or you can create an empty job and add a separate task by yourself. Now, since it is going to be a Java program, I have an option of actually choosing it as a Maven template. So here, if you see, a Maven template is available. So what I'm going to do, I'm clicking on apply. So now when you see it, automatically the Maven tasks are getting filled. Okay, so this is going to be your repository from GitHub. Okay, and this is going to be my Maven step, and this pom.xml will be automatically chosen, and the goals will be automatically filled up, and the test cases will be automatically filled up, and this is going to be my copy of an output, which is going to be your artifact. So in my case, it is going to be a var file, not a jar file. Okay, and then I'm storing it in an artifactory staging directory, and then I'm storing it in an artifacts. Anyways, we have a separate lesson called artifacts, which will be stored over here. But this is just all the pre-filled things that has been done from the Azure DevOps side. Now, if I see everything is good, I just need to click on save and continue. Okay, so I've already filled this job, which I'll show you now. If you see, this is going to be the job, which is I'm just showing the same job that I filled. Okay, so I have 3 goals for me in my Maven. One is clean, another one is compile, another one is package. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that output as a var file, and then I'm just going to save it. Now what this happens is, like when I click on Q, it automatically chooses in what agent I need to run it. So I can choose an agent of Ubuntu 18 or Ubuntu 20 or Windows or Mac OS, anything I want. I'm just choosing Ubuntu 18, and in which branch it has to run. At present we have only master branch, so I'm just giving it. And if you have any commit ID, you can give your commit ID, and then I'm clicking on run. So now what happens, this agent is actually queued, which means we are actually running it from your Microsoft agent. So Microsoft agent can be used worldwide. So if your agent is free, then it automatically picks your job. If your agent is busy, then it has to wait. Now when you click on this option, you can see like it is getting started. So first step is a checkout step, which means it is trying to check out from my GitHub. See, it is trying to check out from my GitHub, and all the files have been checked out locally from the master branch. Now next step is a Maven clean option. So it is actually choosing that pom.xml, and then I'm trying to clean my workspace using Maven. So Maven clean is done, build success. Next is going to be compile. Now what I'm trying to do, I am trying to run a continuous integration job on Azure DevOps, and the output will be copied to Jenkins, and from the Jenkins I'm trying to deploy to an Apache Tomcat server. Meanwhile, let me show you Jenkins. So this is going to be Jenkins, and this is going to be my job. Okay, so how do you create a job? You just need to click on new item, and then we just need to give a name. Whatever name you want to give, you can give it. I'm just choosing it as a freestyle. Okay, and I'm clicking on OK, and then here you have your option to choose your multiple steps. So in our case, it is going to be your container deploy to Tomcat. So I'm coming to post deploy options, and here when you choose this option called as deploy var or EAR file to container, I'm just trying to give the var or EAR file location. So the same expression that we gave in Azure DevOps, we just need to give it there. And container, I'm just choosing it as Tomcat 9, and you have to create your username and password for it. And then I'm just giving the Tomcat server URL, which is going to be this one. This is going to be my Tomcat server URL. And then when I click on save, I can see the CD job is being created. Now if you see, that is what being configured over here. So Tomcat CI/CD, when I see, I just made source code as none, and I don't have any build steps, but I just have only this deploy to container, and I'm just giving the same expression over here. I'm just giving admin credentials, and then I'm giving a Tomcat server URL. And what happens when my Azure DevOps CI is completed? If you see, my CI is completed. Now automatically CD has to start on Jenkins, right? So if you see, my CI is completed, okay, and I can see my test cases are 100% passed. How can I see it? I can go to the test, and I can see the test cases over here. Okay, and where can I see the published artifacts? I can see one artifact is being published, and I can go to this drop location, and I can see the web app over here. So artifact is also being stored. Now how do I know if my Jenkins CD is triggered or not? I'm just going to the project settings, and I'm going to the service hooks, and inside the service hooks I can see whether that hook that we created to trigger a Jenkins is triggered or not. If you see, it has been succeeded now, so which means Jenkins has to be triggered. And now when we go to this particular Jenkins option, we can see the last, which is 12th one, is triggered. So what it says, it has only the CD job, so it is attempting to deploy one war file, okay, and then inside the Tomcat 9 with the container, and it says success. And how do I go there? This is going to be my war file name. So I'm copying the war file name, I'm going to this Tomcat container, I'm just giving / web app is going to be my application name, and when I click on enter, I can see, boom, so my web app is being created, my web app is being deployed. So this is an option which we are trying to do from CI in Azure DevOps and CD in Jenkins. So in our next class, what we will do, we will try to run CI from Jenkins and CD from Azure DevOps. Okay, until then, if you guys have any doubts or anything, please feel free to reach out. Until then, thank you.